Hey, how's it going, Summoners? My name is Nathan and I'll be your host for this video. As promised, we're bringing you guys the updated tier list in our mid-patch update for the first preseason patch. With the massive changes like this, we see several shifts across all 5 roles in spite of the lack of champion balance changes this patch. That being said, hit that sub button so you don't miss out on any crucial content like this, and let's get started with the video. First up, we'll talk about the top lane. We made several adjustments to the tier list this patch, but we'll go ahead and highlight the most important ones for you. Starting off changes to the meta, the top lane has a familiar face, rising to be its hero. Or maybe its oppressor is more accurate. We're talking about Jace. With the addition of First Strike, he is back and uses it similarly to how he used Kleptomancy in the past. However, the fact that it provides additional damage means that he's also able to gain a sizable amount of bonus damage from it. The extra gold is huge too. Jace relies heavily on snowballing and hitting quick item power spikes to quickly finish games. As a rather safe blind pick as well, Jace has taken the spot as the most popular top laner this patch. His win rate is far from impressive, but just know that his current 48% is 3% higher than where it ended last patch. Players love this new keystone on him, and for a good reason. It's very easy to use, and who doesn't just enjoy free gold? Jace is up to the S tier this patch. Also, if the significant meta changes are making the game quite difficult for you, try contacting a coach over at ProGuides.com. Our high elo staff can absolutely help you understand what's going on amidst all the chaos. Yone has also been moved to the S tier. The change in lethal tempo has created a massive shift in its typical loadout. With it more accessible than before, Yone players have begun running it as a primary keystone of choice. Increased attack speed significantly increases his damage output in duels, and even comes in clutch in the top lane. You might be asking why this change affects Yone while Yasuo hasn't seen similar results this patch. That's because a bonus attack speed from lethal tempo lowers his Q as well as his W's cooldown. Once you hit the maximum number of stacks on this rune, you can bring Yone's W cooldown just above 6 seconds, which is ridiculously strong in the early game. More damage and more shields obviously make the world of a difference for Yone, especially when you're playing in the top lane where fights are inevitable. Tryndamere is in the same boat. I'll save you the lengthy explanation and give you the short one. He right-clicks and attacks faster, so playing against him is now suffering. He spins more, and because he attacks more, he has more chance to crit. You get the gist. Tahm Kench continues to dominate this patch with not only the absence of the nerfs, but the additional changes to tank items. The extra damage from Frostfire Gauntlet continues to make him a threatening opponent players need to play cautiously around. Vayne has also been pushed up to the S tier. The matchups she typically runs into the top lane are favorable, and her scaling is obviously really good. At level 9 with her W max, she's able to heavily threaten solo kills on her opponents. A handful of champions are underperforming this patch, and we moved Riven, Kennen, Gnar, and Illaoi into the B tier. Our OP picks in the top lane are Camille, Tahm Kench, and Teemo, followed up by Aurelia, Nasus, Jax, Malphite, Shen, Mundo, Sett, Singed, Quinn, Poppy, Fiora, Jace, and Yone in the S tier. Moving forward, let's run through the jungle next. In the jungle, we see some changing shifts, especially at the top. While our analysts previously had Evelynn and Elise in the OP tier, it turns out that they weren't doing so hot this patch. The presence of more damage has really pushed them out. Attack speed based junglers now have access to lethal tempo, while tank junglers have much more power following changes to Chem Tank and Gauntlet. Xin Zhao has stepped up this patch and has taken the spot in the OP tier. His consistent performance obviously helps, but it seems that his reliable ganks and damage output are really good for putting in some work. It also might be because amidst of all the preseason chaos, having a jungler with ganks that are powerful and also easy to pull off provides some stability. There are 2 new picks in the S tier that we have to talk about as well. The first is Master Yi. Low elo players probably aren't very surprised by this since he's been the go-to 1v9 machine there. However, with the changes to lethal tempo, Master Yi is performing excellently in high elo as well. He's able to quickly ramp up attack speed and has much more consistent DPS than before. No more waiting for the keystone to activate and no more cooldown. With consistent access to bonus attack speed, Yi's damage output remains high without a random falloff in the middle of teamfights. Warwick is also up to the S tier. As the meta includes champions that want longer drawn-out fights, Warwick is happy to join the combat. In case you're curious, most players are still using Press the Attack, but a majority of them are now finding success with lethal tempo as well. The fact that it increases your attack speed cap makes it surprising to me since it isn't more popular yet, but Press the Attack, Exposed Weakness, Effect, and Burst Damage are definitely hard to pass up. As our analysts predicted, Rammus and Skarner are doing even better this patch. The extra damage added to Turbo Chem Tank has been an absolute buff for them. There's hardly any incentive not to build the item, and the fact that Riot randomly gave it more damage would do nothing but help these 2 out. Nocturne, on the other hand, is performing noticeably worse. It seems that he preferred the giant burst of attack speed from the old lethal tempo. He would activate his stay in range of the fear of his opponent and then quickly burst him down. With the updated rune, he needs to first attack his opponent several times, which unfortunately doesn't really fit his playstyle as a bursty assassin. My best guess is that players might need to start running Electrocute and take him back to his roots as a true assassin. In the OP tier, we have Graves and Shinzao, followed up by Fiddlesticks, Zac, Kindred, Kane, Lilia, Shaco, Talon, Lee Sin, Vi, Viego, Trundle, Rammus, Skarner, Master Yi, and Warwick in the S tier. With the jungle wrapped up, we'll talk about the mid lane next. In the mid lane, there are also some unexpected changes to discuss. Victor is probably the dark horse of the preseason update. First Strike and the new defensive mythic item has also transformed Victor into a lethal killing machine. Interesting, Jace and Victor are kind of strong. Honestly, sounds a little bit like plot armor to me. Anyway, his win rate is past the 53% mark this patch, and he's able to much more reliably scale up than before. First Strike continues to provide a sizable amount of bonus damage in the later stages of the game, but more importantly, it significantly increases Victor's scaling. Once he finishes Crown of the Shattered Queen, he's also in a much safer spot than before. Things are looking really good for one of League's strongest late game control mages. We moved him up to the OP tier this patch and expect him to get nerfed very soon. While it's very early on in the preseason, I have the question of the day for you. Are there any other champions that you're enjoying more after this preseason patch has dropped? I'm a big fan of Jinx with the new lethal tempo. It definitely feels great on her, especially in her minigun form. Let me know your answers in the comments down below, and let's continue with the changes. As our analysts expected, Vladimir is doing exceptionally well. What wasn't expected is that it's not because of Demonic Embrace, which should theoretically be a great purchase for him. Instead, Cosmic Drive is the catalyst for his improved performance. And there's no shame in using some outside resources to help your performance, right? Anyway, if you found it very difficult to run away or chase Vladimir down before, it's gotten even harder this patch, and he's able to stack Phase Rush's bonus movement speed on top of Cosmic Drive's new effect. He is the speediest vampire around with the changes, and his win rate in high elo is way past the 52% mark this patch. We also moved Tryndamere up to the S tier in the mid lane. We briefly mentioned how he's doing in the top lane, but he's been a sleeper pick for quite some time now in the mid lane as well. With some newfound strength in the preseason, he deserves a higher placement. The last pick that we want to talk about is Lux. Horizon Focus now provides bonus damage against enemies that are slowed or immobilized. It's unsurprisingly easy to take advantage of this with Lux. Her Q&E already applies some crowd control, while her ultimate is used from a far enough distance to trigger the effect, or as a follow-up to either of her two other abilities. As a result, Lux is doing well this patch and easily holds her spot in the S tier. In the OP tier, we have Zed, Vex, and Victor, followed up by Sylas, Talon, Annie, Ahri, Yone, LeBlanc, Kassadin, Anivia, Katarina, Fizz, Akshan, Lux, Vladimir, Yasuo, and Tryndamere in the S tier. Next is the bottom lane. The bottom lane features the mildest changes amongst all the other roles. Caitlyn has been a hot topic this patch. Her headshot cancels were initially removed, but after some harsh feedback from the player base, Riot is planning a new set of changes in the upcoming patch. We'll keep an eye out and inform you of any future news. That being said, one marksman that we have to talk about is Vayne. Her win rates are absurd at all ranks. She scales well and is one of the best team fighters in the current meta. Divers have a hard time getting to her, and she's able to match or out DPS nearly any other bot laner. Not to mention she's also a great top lane pick at the moment. Vayne is definitely on the strong side, though she's practically just as strong as she's always been. The various system changes have, however, shifted the meta towards one that Vayne can thrive in. Miss Fortune is doing a little bit worse this patch. Again, as a result of meta shifts, and probably because players have gotten better at dealing with her. She holds a low win rate against Jhin in particular, and elite players are also doing really well at picking Caitlyn against her. In the OP tier, we have Vayne and Jhin, followed up by Ashe, Ezreal, Samara, Ziggs, Lucian, Karthus, Jinx, Caitlyn, and Miss Fortune in the S tier. Finally, let's conclude with the supports. Like with the mid lane, we'll talk about Lux. Support Lux is essentially the budget version of AP Lux mid now. Unsurprisingly, even without the same income and experience, she's able to do the same stuff to a lesser degree. Her Horizon Focus goes the extra mile for her, and in high elo, she's currently the second most popular support in the game. Now we're in the meta where your support locks in full AP Lux, you're absolutely not getting trolled, and quite the opposite is true. Your teammate is playing the meta. She's up to the OP tier this patch. While this next change was a tricky call, our analysts also moved Leona up to the OP tier. The introduction of Even Shroud has significantly increased her presence in team fights. Leona is able to significantly increase her teammate's damage output, and not only with her passive, but also with the damage amplification effect with the new mythic item. This makes her even more relevant in the mid and late game team fights, where it's not only important to catch off priority targets, but also have enough damage to finish them off. While we're still observing his performance, Xerath is also somebody that players should be looking out for. Players are experimentally using First Strike on him as well. It's a difficult call to make for sure. Arcane Common provides solid poke damage. Giving it up for some extra income is a risky choice, but our analysts are definitely curious and monitoring his performance. It is worth noting that his overall win rate is at 52%, meaning he's definitely good in low elo. While we aren't going to be moving him up a tier, definitely give him a try if you enjoy playing him and are golden below. In the OP tier, we have Blitzcrank, Leona, and Lux, followed up by Thresh, Morgana, Maokai, Zyra, Yumi, Lulu, Sona, Nami, and Soraka in the S tier. And that concludes our mid-patch update. I hope you guys all enjoyed it, and feel free to share your thoughts in the comments down below. Also, check out the description for a link to join our Discord. It'd be really great to see you guys there. Until next time, you guys know the drill. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have a wonderful day. Peace.